of my childhood dreams was to become a fashion designer.
Oh.
Yeah, so I wanted to pursue that dream, so I decided to run it for like a while. But after 2 years, I decided, okay, maybe it's not really for me. Yeah, but
If anyone want to join Savour, the link is down below.
Apply for internship, learn from the best.
Hi everyone, my name is JJ, and today we have our special guest here, which is my friend called Katrina. So she's the founder and CEO of Savour, and maybe you would like to introduce a bit about Savour.
yeah, sure. Thanks so much, JJ. Yeah, so really happy to be here today, and yeah, thanks so much for inviting me to come on board. Yeah, so to everyone who's watching this, so I'm Katrina, the CEO and founder of Savour. So Savour is a tech startup started in August 2019. Where we aim to reduce food waste and food insecurity while also empowering organizations with savings via digitalization. So how we do so is by building up a one-stop B2B e-procurement web platform where we offer products like soon expire, blemished and surplus food, as well as expanding to corporate gift, office supplies, area rental services. So we launched our platform officially in August last year, and just recently we got to celebrate our first platform anniversary.
Oh, congratulations, man! I saw that advertisement on LinkedIn, all that post, right? Yeah. So I heard I've been looking through your company, and I've seen a lot of traction, and I've recently heard that you have raised 100,000, right, pre-seed. So maybe you can talk more about that. How was the journey?
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much for bringing that up. So I'll say that the journey to actually getting to where Savour is today has been a roller coaster because for me I started out by bootstrapping, and then followed by going for a lot of competitions and pitching to a lot of investors to try to get funding for my startup. So I managed to raise this from a mix of different investors. Yeah, so some of which comes from competition, prize money, and some of it comes from government grants. Yeah, so I'm quite fortunate to actually have the support of different investors, and these are actually available for student startup founders, and also depending on the nature of your business itself, you can apply for competitions that actually focuses on your specific industry, and you'll not only be able to get funding, but you'll also be able to get mentors that supports you every step of the way in your entrepreneurship journey.
I see. Also, you mentioned about bootstrapping, right? I'm quite interested in that because now I'm also bootstrapping. How long was the journey, and actually why, how do you overcome that, or how do you go to the next phase?
Yeah, so I started this in August 2019. So August 2019 all the way to November 2019 was the time where I was bootstrapping. And even back then, when I started this idea by myself, I didn't have a founding team, or I didn't have any product that's being developed. All I had was just myself, and also coming out with a pitch deck to go down on the ground to talk to customers and merchants about the idea of Savour, and just convincing them about my passion and sincerity to actually help them to solve their problems. So from there I managed to get my first 10 merchants. So it wasn't an easy process. I reached out to 100 merchants, and out of all of them only one replied. So even though only one replied back to my email, I decided not to just give up at that point of time. So I just went down to the stores and spoke to store managers. I tried all sorts of creative ways to get the contact of the right person in the company. And from there, even though I was just a student, I didn't really see myself as a student. I really just went out to have meetings with the bosses of companies and get them on board.
Wow.
So from there, once I've gotten some traction, I went to join a lot of competitions and grants. And then from there, because the judges saw the traction that I've gotten already, and also the passion and sincerity I had for executing the business, so they decided to take a chance on me. And yeah, so I'll say that their investment paid off because I managed to deliver the results that I promised to them also. Yeah.
So why were you so passionate about doing this procurement business?
I think it's a pretty good passion because I actually did not start out with going to procurement for my startup. So it was actually more of a food waste app itself that offers expiring, blemished and surplus food to the general public. So what inspired me to want to start Savour in the first place was I previously ran e-commerce like startup myself for like around 2 years. So that was in my polytechnic days. And I will import like fashion goods like from overseas suppliers and then I sell it to like young adults. So after running it for around 2 years, even though like I was making a pretty good like side income from
So that
it.
was a previous business before?
Yeah, previous business.
Okay, in poly lah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then I wanted to actually come out with a startup that made more of a positive environmental and social impact. Yeah, because even though I was earning money, I didn't feel like it was really making a positive impact in the community. So I decided to do like a short like overseas stint like in a social enterprise in Yangon, Myanmar. So when I was working there, I was actually tackling water shortage and pollution problems.
Right.
And I got to like interview locals, and then from there I got inspired to actually want to come back to Singapore to start like
This initiative
yeah,
as well.
start this initiative. And I thought about like the current pressing problems in Singapore. So food waste and food security is something that came to my mind because I previously worked in like the F&B industry and I saw a lot of perfectly good food being thrown away. And I also volunteered in the non-profit sector where like a lot of food that's being donated to beneficiaries are like instant noodles, canned foods, or self waters. And I always thought like actually with so much food waste that's happening, why not create a tech-enabled solution that can better match the supply and demand from like F&B merchants to like customers who need it. And so that's actually how like the story of Savour like began.
It's interesting. So, I mean, I'm always happy to meet like women in tech, right? Because technically it's a tech company, right? And then, of course, you know, the industry has always been dominated, you know. So I'm very happy to meet like somebody like you. So, how did the tech? Did the tech first come into place, or was the business solution then the tech afterwards? And like, what are the steps that you took to actually build that up?
Yeah, so I started out with like the business concept first before going into tech itself. So when I first started out like by myself, I went down to pitch to like customers, merchants like on my own. But then I decided to join like quite a lot of different like entrepreneurship clubs in school and also like hackathons. And it was through like these entrepreneurship clubs and hackathons I got to meet like my different like founding team members. So none of us actually were friends before we came together, but one by one they all came on board like to Savour because they all believe in like the cause that we're trying to tackle. So I actually didn't like launch the tech product until 6 months later. It was only after we actually did like some mini trials and like built up a really mock prototype to test with our customers and merchants and gather their user feedback before we decided, okay, we're going to develop this like tech product like into a MVP. Because that involves like actually hiring like software developers and committing like resources into the product. So we wanted to make sure this was a product that people are actually willing to pay for and use like once we actually launch it. Yeah, so I got to meet my CTO and co-founder like in one of the hackathons I joined. So that was around the November period where I got like my first funding. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah, it was pretty interesting because like when I joined the hackathon, so I was pitching about like the idea with like business traction. Then when he joined, he was pitching a similar product, similar idea to mine, but he already had like the tech prototype developed. So when we both won the funding, we decided to like come together to like form alliances and like build up Savour. Because he handles like the tech and operations side of the business. Then for me, I handle like more of the business side.
Yeah, it's really like perfect time with different like things coming together. Yeah, and I think it's really great also because I think from what you're sharing like for these past few minutes, I can really hear that you know this business is started off with like purpose, right? And something that you really want to do, and really happy to hear about that.
Yeah, 100. You reached out to 100 merchants. Only one of them replied you. Can I just ask you, like, why didn't you give up at that point in time? Because if I were you, right, to be frank, if I emailed 100 of them and only one of them get back to me, I'll feel probably quite rejected. So what was it that made you continue on at that time?
Yeah, I think like for me it's like I'm quite thick-skinned as a person and I've gotten more thick-skinned as time goes by. But like for me, I don't really take no as an answer. So I always like believe like in the potential of the idea itself, and I'm sure even though like maybe 99 says no, but maybe the next like 100 that I reach out to more will like say yes. And it's really a numbers game at the start. It's really talking to as much people as possible, and not everyone is going to believe in your idea, that's for sure. But like as you go into your entrepreneurship journey, you start to meet a lot of people who are willing to mentor you and like really like support you like at every step of the way. So even though like I know one mentor, but this one mentor introduces me to 5 contacts, this 5 contacts introduces me to another 5 contacts, and from there it's like your network just grows because the mentors themselves or even the people supporting you, they're also very invested in the idea, so they want to see you to succeed. So it's not really an individual effort, but more of a collaborative team effort that makes like Savour like successful.
But it takes that one person to kickstart the whole thing up. It takes that initiative, I would say.
Yeah.
So that's really amazing.
Okay, so just now you mentioned right, towards a certain like region or towards a certain duration, then you are certain that customers are interested. Then you would start to build your MVP, right? Yeah. So at which point of time you know that it is something that customer want? Because this is something like hard to quantify, right?
Yeah, indeed. So there's actually no right or wrong or even a model answer to like how long is the right time before you actually start to develop a MVP prototype. But like what I'll suggest is really like actually going down to interview like a large like group of your target customers. And not only just pitch to them about your idea, but also like take this opportunity to like do some market research where you ask them questions in general, like more about like, oh, what sort of problems are you like facing currently? Is there any existing solutions that tackle these problems? If there isn't, what's the gaps in these existing solutions? And okay, say if we have like a solution with this feature, will you be interested? So it might not be directly pitching about like your startup itself, but from there maybe you
or the market research, finding out more things.
You discover new features that you can actually add to your solution itself that will value add to the customers or merchants. And then from there, I will actually suggest, right, once you've gotten feedback from one customer, right, then you take this feedback, improve your idea, and then go to the next customer with this improved idea and get their feedback. So it's a really iterative process, I would say, and maybe you might pivot like 1 or 2 times before you actually get like the product that you actually that actually works like for both the customer, merchants, and you. Because ultimately, even say like developing a business model, it has to be a business model that can sustain you and also like be something customers are willing to pay for.
Yeah. But at what number do you stop at? Like do you like sort of quantify like, okay, this is like maybe I'm quite confident that this will work. Yeah, so like how many customers do you interview?
I think like at the point when I decided to like build my MVP prototype, I interviewed like I think 300 like merchants and customers, and I would say that it took around 3 to 4 months actually to actually like do user testing, market research, getting people on board to the idea, and then like telling them, okay, so you're going to expect this product to launch in like June, so like stay tuned for it. And then even like while we were building up the MVP prototype, we ran like a lot of user like trials also, because like there's going to be bugs or user experience issues as you're developing, so you actually want to like speak to them and constantly refine the product. So even after you launch the MVP, it's not just like a full stop, but it's more of like after you launch it, you still have to like continue like surveying like your customers to see how you can better improve.
Like constant improvement.
And that is like your data as well. So I would expect that once you get the data, it gives you more confidence. It also gives the investors more confidence as well, right? By interviewing 300 right, merchants, you said. It's amazing.
You said at the start, right, you started from August to November, right? And then during November, that was the first time you get your first grant. Yeah. Are you able to share like more about the grant, or how do you get it?
Yeah, so actually like when I was like starting up my company, I applied for every single competition hackathon that was available in Singapore at that point of time. So it's also really a numbers game. Yeah, you just apply until you get shortlisted, and then from those competitions you get shortlisted for, you just try your best to make it to the finals. And then, yeah, at that point of time, once you make it to finals, it's really about researching like what judges are going to be appearing and sort of tailoring your pitch to suit the judges. Yeah, so for me, like I usually network with the judges even before the competition itself, just to like share with them more about like my company.
Oh my god, okay.
But yeah, the competition that I got, the prize money in was environmental sustainability startup competition. So the competition's like goal was to like fund startups that was tackling like environmental sustainability issues. So just nice because like I was tackling the issue of food waste, so it actually aligned quite closely with the competition organizers itself. So I will actually recommend like whichever industry you're in to really like target the competitions that are aligned with what you're doing. Because this after the competition itself, I actually got my first publicity from them. So I actually appeared on Channel News Asia like one of the 10 p.m. like live shows. So that was actually where I got to share about.
Were you nervous?
Yes, I was.
Super, right? Actually act like you're not nervous actually.
Yeah, because it was a 3 minutes live video.
Wow.
And I was
Live
speaking with the
God.
news anchors and all.
Do you ask your mom like, hey mom, wait for 9 p.m. I'm going to come out for 3 minutes.
That's all the relatives also.
Yeah. So from there actually I got my name like known, and then like more media publications started approaching me like organically like to ask me to be featured in their articles, videos.
Street stamps as well. I think I saw you on street stamps.
So I think like it's really a chain effect, I would say. All you need is really that like one like media publication or that one investor or that one mentor to believe in you, and then from there it's a chain. Like more people will start coming on board because they saw like previously you really like had that support of like this organization.
It's true. I think many businesses are always working to their like first like breakthrough in that sense, right? And just like breakthrough in like terms of media coverage. Correct. I think when you get your like good word of mouth out and you've been doing your good work, I think you've been always working towards like that point. So yeah, I mean that's very very good to hear.
Yeah. So I see your journey has been quite smooth sailing per se, because like your traction is like really quite a lot for this short amount of time, and you were studying. So is there any like I don't know like tips or tricks that I don't know that help you along the way?
Yeah. So I think like definitely it's always like a struggle trying to like balance like studies along with like working full time in a startup, because honestly when you're running a startup you can't afford to be part time either. You have to like really be like dedicated, like committing hours to it. Yeah, so I started like Savour like in year 2. So I would say that I generally have to like prioritize and plan my time well. If not, like I wouldn't need to sleep. So what I've worked out like already is actually like to set aside blocks of time to like do my studies, and then the other blocks of time to like do my startup work. So what I've done is like so far I've squeezed like all my classes to like 2 days a week. Yeah, so this allows
classes to 2 days.
Yeah.
5 days of classes to 2 days.
Yeah, one semester of module 2 days a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're able to absorb, because I mean like the class is gonna be super packed. So it's gonna be like class like back to back. Right. So like will you have this like mental capacity to absorb all the knowledge?
Yeah, I think actually after like taking on like quite a few commitments, it helps you to prioritize your time better. So you wouldn't like want to procrastinate as much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I mean of course there's always times where you want to procrastinate, like when you really have a very busy week and all.
Right.
Yeah, but I will say like so far I've been actually able to prioritize like studies and like startup work. So even beyond just like my startup and like studies, I've also like I actually started like another like angel investment club in NUS. So it's called NUS Angel Ventures. Yeah, so I started it with like a bunch of friends from my entrepreneurship school club, because we got to actually bring on board like NUS alumni who are like venture capital like partners, like angel investors and like C-suite executives, because it's a pretty good networking opportunity, and we get to also like pay forward by helping other startups in Singapore to get funding.
So what was your role there, like in this club?
I was like a startup investment director there. So I'm the one like sourcing and like screening startups to actually recommend to investors for like investment. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think today we have like over 70 plus like NUS alumni like who came on board as angel investors and mentors there. And we managed to get around like 4 startups like term sheets with like these investors.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of commitments. Yeah, that's a lot of commitments. Awesome. Wait, what is one advice, right, that you would give for people who want to start something of their own, maybe something that they're passionate about? Because I think there are a lot of people that I know of that actually they want to start something, but they always never have that I wouldn't say initiative, it's more of they don't have that courage, or they're not sure, maybe because, growing up, things was always stable and all that, so it's a huge risk for them to take. Do you have any advice in that aspect that you can give for these people?
Yeah, I think I can give some advice to students who are interested to start their businesses, and also maybe working adults who's interested to do so. So I think for the students' case, I think starting a startup during your school life is actually one of the best times to do so, because there isn't that much sacrifices you need to make, unlike once you start working. And I would say that actually the universities and also a lot of competitions programs out there are really supportive towards students starting their own startups. So if say you're in a university, there are incubation programs that will let you attend entrepreneurship workshops and let you link up with mentors to help support you in your journey. And there's a lot of grants available for student entrepreneurs also. So honestly, I would say that starting something in Singapore is pretty good. And if say you're a working adult that's looking to start something, I'll say you can treat it as a side hustle first, because you don't exactly have to quit your job to run your startup. But it's more of once your startup has hit a certain stage where you do need to go full time into it, then you can perhaps pursue this full time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true, because I think that there was this book that I read. It's called The Lean Startup by Eric Rice, and he was talking about this way of building a business known as the MVP model, so minimal viable product. And I think many people have the misconception, people that haven't started businesses before, that it's always a risky thing because we watch Channel 8, right? We watch Channel 8, we watch movies, right? Or business is always, okay lah, I quit my job now, then I go and start. It's not like that, ma. So a lot of times is you build the simplest prototype. I mean, depending on what kind of business it is. For me, the simplest prototype that I built, I want to come up with a platform where tutors are being screened and interviewed and all that, right? So the simplest thing that I could think of is Zoom. So when I started Lumie lessons, I just Zoom with all the tutors that I have. But my problem was I was a very soft-hearted person. So even if the people don't meet to my requirements, I still let them in. So there were some quality issues, which I had to hire someone to help me do the interviews. So they keep me away from the interviews, if not my tutors. Yeah. So now that was how I started as well. So quite, I think, similar as well, MVP. And then once you build an MVP, you test the market. You see, I tell parents that my tutors are screened. They are checked based on test papers. Other companies don't do this. Yeah, so to me that is one advice I can give also is, don't see a business as you need to come up with a whole big thing straight away. Come up with the core service that you want to provide first, and then we see how it goes. So which is why I agree that in university especially, I think that's the best time, because I mean school is busy, yes, depending on your goal, right, for your results and all that, but there is always free time. I mean, you can argue that you're super busy, but we have Katrina here that has 3 commitments and still can commit, so there is time. The only issue is how do you allocate it, and how passionate you are about pursuing your own desires, and wanting to build a business. So to me, university, I agree, best time.
So there's another point I want to emphasize in terms of bringing the idea and going out. Because earlier, I think Katrina mentioned that you went out and then you speak to people on the ground, right? I think what is important, right, is to not always stay at a drawing block. A lot of people stay at a drawing block, and then, meaning they plan, then they think, some cannot, then I don't do it. Then I will think again, but you never really action. If you action on it when you go and you speak to people, then Katrina said,
you can save a lot of time on planning.
Yeah, you get feedback directly. If your idea is bad, it doesn't go through your own filter, right? You go through somebody else's filter, and you know that what is needed to improve. And then when it comes to having a full-time job and then funding your business, that's what I'm currently doing, right? So it really helps in the sense that when you bootstrap, you have more capital to work with, right? Rather than you thinking of finding ideas to get funding or things like that. Yeah, so I think it's really actioning on it and then find solutions and pivot along the way, which is I think is important and essential for every business.
Yeah, for me, one of the things I realized about bootstrapping, right, is that I think personal finance is very important. And I think that people shouldn't start their businesses if they haven't got their personal finance in check. Yeah, so I have this, there's this article I wrote on LinkedIn where I say, where I talk about a bit about personal finance, and I think I was sharing like, if you don't track every single cent in your own daily life, what makes you think you're going to track every single cent that your company is going to spend? So because I made a mistake in the past when I started another company with JJ at the time, and we wasted a lot of money. Yeah, so that really taught me to get my personal finances in check first before we can bootstrap and start a business lah. Yeah. Would you say that for you, in your case, in poly, when you started all these ventures, was there something that crossed your mind first? Like, you need to get your personal finance in check. You need to learn a little bit more about personal finance before you start your business. Would you say that is the path also that you took?
Okay, so actually, like, I will say something also. Like, usually you don't have to get to a certain comfortable stage in life to actually do a startup, because I think a lot of people always assume that if you want to do a startup, you must accumulate thousands of expenses in order to make it successful. But sometimes you can be very creative and resourceful in your startup resources by making use of free resources, basically, to keep your burn rate really low. Yeah, it's not so much about having to burn a lot of money, but just learning how to be thrifty and
resourcul with whatever, make use of whatever you have.
Yeah.
Is there any examples of how you have managed
I also wanted to ask that.
create all these, maybe more customer acquisition, right, without the need to spend on marketing? Yeah.
Yeah, so I can give some specific examples in Savour's context. So in some of the competitions that we participated in, we actually got I think 5,000 free AWS credits as part of participating in that competition.
Right.
So AWS credit is basically what you need to run your cloud server for your website or your mobile app. So because of that, we actually save a lot on server costs. And also when it comes to marketing, so I think LinkedIn ads, Google ads, they offer free $70 credit every month. So you can actually make use of that. And in terms of other marketing, so organic marketing is also very important. So for us, we focus a lot on public relations. So we actually reach out to a lot of media publications in Singapore to write press releases and hopefully get ourselves featured on the media publication itself. So from there, we actually got quite a lot of publicity without having to spend big bucks on advertising.
That's wise, because what you are doing is actually trending as well. See, sustainability and so she's riding on that.
Yeah.
Very smart.
Wow. I see you've been doing things quite strategically. Your school is 2 days, startup is 5 days.
That one crazy.
And you manage a lot of things, and you've always been doing the right thing. Do you have any mentor, or what was your maybe way of doing things, that really stands out, or from the rest,
Yeah, so all my success to also the help of all my mentors. So yeah, back then before I started Savour, I was someone who didn't really network with people. My LinkedIn back then was I think only 100 connections or something. It was quite low. I didn't really have any valuable contacts to tap on. But what I decided to do was to sign up for a lot of entrepreneurship school clubs and mentorship programs within my university itself. So that actually got me acquainted with my Google mentor, who's also still my mentor today. He was actually the one I ran my idea with, and he told me I'll actually help you start this idea by linking you up with someone from marketing in Google, someone from procurement at Google. So it was actually through my mentor's help that got me into a lot of individuals without that I wouldn't have been able to reach out to through LinkedIn itself. And I also took part in entrepreneurship school class where I got to meet mentors, and with these mentors I actually made the active effort to maintain relationship with them consistently. So every month I'll try to meet them and just update them about my startup progress. And then from there they'll say, oh, actually I know someone who can help you in this, then they'll just link me up. And from there I'll say I have managed to build up a pretty strong network of mentors that I go to for different advisors, because there's not really a one-stop mentor for everything. Correct. But rather there's a mentor for something. So if you want mentorship advice, actually even if you don't have university programs to sign up for, you can just reach out to people on LinkedIn. So what I used to do is I will research who I actually want to have a coffee chat with, and I'll just drop them a LinkedIn invite and say, hey, I saw you're doing this, and I'm doing this. Can you meet up with me for a coffee chat, because I'll get advice. And I think quite a lot of them reply back to me. and yeah, we still stay quite in close contact like to this day. So it's really about like being shameless in a sense by
very
putting
good point.
yourself out there.
Yes,
Because
right.
honestly, people don't think badly of you if you do that. In fact, they admire you for like
Yes,
your
for your courage, right?
yeah, courage and
your-
persistence. Yeah.
Oh, actually that's a very good
Very good
move.
point. Very good point.
Yeah, like talking to mentors, like just checking on them like every month, then like getting them involved in your process. Is there any screening like process? Because like for mentors, right, actually they all carry their own biases from their business, right? So it's like maybe they see they see things differently, right? So do you have any like screening process or to see like which mentor would provide good advices or which mentor would be similar to you, to your vision, and then you would like to follow them?
I think every mentor has great advice, but it's just like which advice you want to actually like implement. Yeah, because like some mentors like they may come from like another like perspective. Like maybe like the advice will work if you are like a later stage startup, but
Yes,
the advice
right.
will not work if you're like an early
But
stage
now,
startup.
yes.
So it's more about like taking which advice that fits your company best at the current point of time. Then whichever other advice they give, you can always come back to it again. You don't have to actually implement all their advice like at the same time. Yeah, so I will also say like just keep the mentor like in close contact, even if like the advice might not be so helpful at this point of time, but
Yeah.
maybe the advice will be very helpful down the road. Or maybe they might not be able to give you relevant advice, but they can link you up with people who can give you relevant advice.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Because like when I started actually I talked to like a lot of mentors. The thing is like they may not have the similar business model, and they may not be able to see things from like, because being like in your industry you know the best, right? So things like the advice that they give may not be applicable, right? So I think getting them involved and continuing. Yeah.
Also, like I think relating that to another context, I think it's also about building good relationship with people. I think whether or not you find even with like colleagues, right, or maybe like your fellow managers, I think it's always important to keep good contact with people and your network, because like Katrina said, right, might not be now, but who knows, like the person under you might climb very, very fast and accelerate in growth, then you will need his help or her help for something else. So I think it's also really important to keep in mind that even if you are working for somebody, you're not an entrepreneur, it's always important to build good relationship with everybody, because you wouldn't know what is happening next, right? To not burn bridges.
Yeah. Here we talk about like all this progress, like, and like all the like very glorified things. Maybe we can come down to like I mean, let's be real, right? Like I think like running a startup and with like the amount of accomplishment you have, right? On top of school itself, it really like puts a toll on your mental health, or on your like maybe like your other relationships or like social life, right? So how do you like manage that? Do you face any burnout? And then how do you get over that?
Yeah, I think definitely like entrepreneurship can sometimes be like a lonely journey, and there are points of times where you face challenges where you're not sure how to solve, or like if like maybe customers like say something negative and you take it like personally. Yeah, so I think that's definitely like unavoidable sometimes. Yeah, so like I think especially at the start of like building up Savour, so I was worried about like a lot of things, like not just about like gaining traction, but also about whether I have enough funding, about
Will
like
this
my
even
team
work, right?
issues,
Yeah.
will it
Like
work?
a lot of
There's
self-doubt and
really a lot of
yeah.
1,001 like doubts that you have, but I guess sometimes it's okay to allow yourself to feel like sad or like feel angry, but I think what really helps is to have like a support system, like of like maybe family, friends, and mentors that you can go to for advice. Because actually, like one thing I learned also after like sharing about my problems with my mentors is that you're not alone in this. Actually, I actually have been in your shoes before.
Yes.
Like team issues, I face it. Funding issues, I face it. In fact, like after they have gone through it, they came out stronger.
Yes,
And
correct. And they can laugh at it and they talk about it as though like nothing happened. Like it's something small. Yeah, I really get that. Yeah, actually, this is a good advice. Because I recently like shared some stuff to my mentor as well. Yeah, so he was just like saying, oh yeah, I mean this is like very normal, like your teammates leaving or stuff. Yeah, correct. It's something that they have like gone through, and then like after looking at their response, like it actually like really comforts you to show you that okay, that they have been
It's
there
normal.
and they have gone through it, and you know what, they are doing well right now. So yeah, it's part and parcel of like startup journey. So yeah.
I also heard that you have around 50 interns, is it, in your company right now?
Like combined, like
Combined, 50
Yeah.
interns. Can I ask you, like, how do you actually manage these 50 of them? Because coming from someone who probably haven't had that many or that much corporate experience in terms of managing stuff, yeah, can you share some struggles that you faced, and as well as how did you overcome them in terms of managing your team?
Okay, yeah, so I would say that I didn't start out with like so many interns like at the start. So it's like progressively like we add like maybe a few like extra headcount with every intern batch that we hire. But yeah, so even before like starting my startup itself, I worked in quite a few like companies, like both in corporate and also in startup. So I took like the best practices like of all the companies I interned in to actually build out like a pretty like comprehensive internship like program for like any interns that come in. So one thing like that I learned also is to actually like set out clear like goals for them to develop like both doing the work that they do and also learning.
Okay, so you don't feel like they're wasting the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do give them a lot of like autonomy and like freedom to like propose ideas and to actually like see it through also in executing it. So I will say that a lot of my interns, like a lot of them came in with the objective to like start their own companies in the future, and they want to also learn the ropes of how to do it.
Okay.
So I also take the point to like sort of mentor them and not just like ask them to do this, do that.
And
But
you're inspiring to them.
yeah. So a lot of them like after they intern in my company went on to start their own like companies.
Wow.
Then I think they also took like some best practices that they learned at my company also for their own company.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? I think a lot of times people always think about, I'm not sure if it's still current now because I haven't had interns in a while, but a lot of them always aim to go to big firms, like for example, I mean for different industries, but that's the beauty of joining a startup, right? You get a bird's eye view of everything that is happening. You get close mentorship with the founder themselves. I think you learn a lot. If that's something that you really resonate with, you can learn a lot more than a big firm. Not saying that big firms are not good, but you know, it's really a whole new experience. Like personally, I would prefer joining a startup and then like seeing what's happening, the whole operations of it.
Yes.
It's just a lot more interesting, right? As compared to like you doing just one function for like 3 months.
Correct.
You get to learn across different like, spectrums, which is great.
Yeah, it's an open office concept, you know. You get to sit like beside the CEO or beside like those like maybe the operation leads or sales lead, you know. Yeah, so things like yeah, I really agree with whatever you mentioned, because joining a large firm, you're just a small part of the whole big picture, and you don't necessarily get to see everything. So in terms of learning experience, actually
Very limited.
Yeah, I do encourage people to join a startup. So if anyone want to join Savour, the link is down below.
Apply for internship, learn from the best.
You can give us your Google Sheet.
Yeah,
Google
sure.
form.
How you paste it?
Yeah, but wow, really very interesting because you have gone through so much in just a short span of like your 3 or 4 years, right? Yeah. May I know what actually like led you to this maybe to this startup culture, startup mindset? You know, like what happened before that? Like why were you so headstrong and like interview 100 and not give up? Yeah.
Oh, so actually my chance with entrepreneurship is like pretty like random encounter, I would say. I didn't really like go into entrepreneurship with like, oh yeah, I'll do entrepreneurship, but rather like I was doing this entrepreneurship module in Polytechnic. So this module actually required me and my groupmates to start up our own like fashion line. So we had to design products and then sell it to people. So after like doing that project, I realized I actually quite like entrepreneurship, and I decided, oh, actually, since like we're disbanding, I might as well go start up my own like fashion like line afterwards. Because actually one of my childhood dreams was to become a fashion designer. Yeah, so I wanted to pursue that dream, so I decided to run it for like a while. But after 2 years, I decided, okay, maybe it's not really for me. Yeah, but I mean, I wanted to like do like my own like other business like in the future. So I decided that I just put myself out there and try a lot of different things. And then I think like with my combined experiences, that's what actually led me to think of like new ideas to explore. So I would say entrepreneurship, like you don't have to like stay in an idea for life, but it's always a constant iterative process. Like, okay, maybe you can become a serial entrepreneur, you can pursue different ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Yes. One question.
Yeah. I think over time as well, your intuition gets built up in terms of entrepreneurship because you're more exposed. The books you read, I don't know, do you read any books?
Yeah.
What sort of books do you read?
I read quite a lot of like self-help and like entrepreneurship books. So like what you mentioned, like the Lean Startup is a pretty good one. There are some other books that I love also, which is like Start with Why, Zero to One.
yeah.
Start with Why is very good.
Yeah, or like Shoe
Good to
Dog.
read.
Shoe Dog.
Yeah. There's a lot of like good entrepreneurship books out there, and I actually recommend like aspiring entrepreneurs or even entrepreneurs to always constantly read up on these books.
Yep.
Because like it's always good to learn from like other successful entrepreneurs.
Correct.
Because like maybe some things that they did right can also work for your startup, or maybe they help you to gain.
The mistakes that they made is actually something that can save you time as well. Yeah, because some of them are very open about sharing their, like Steve Jobs, the biography. I've read quite a few mistakes that he has made throughout his career as well. So for Start with Why, wow, that is really a very good book. Yeah, because Start with Why is by this author called Simon Sinek, and basically the book got him fame lah. Before Start with Why, he was leading another company, but he said he was feeling very burnout. You know, even though he was earning money, but he was feeling very burnout and all that. And then so he started becoming a motivational speaker and a business speaker as well. So the whole book, the whole concept, if I'm not wrong, of Start with Why is basically to start with why you want to build this. Everything you do in marketing especially. So he always use Apple as an example. So Apple has a very core philosophy in them, which is, you see, they can make watches, they can make phones, they can even make a shoe. No one will question Apple making a shoe. But if you see a company like Dell make watch or make a shoe, you start like, it feels a bit out of place, you see, because no one really knows Dell's why. But people are very clear about Apple's why, which is that they believe that, you know, people with passion, they can change the world. And that those who believe that they can change the world are the ones that actually do. So these are some of the marketing things that, okay, sometimes people don't really know it so articulately because they never read the book. But the vibes you get what I mean? The feeling you get from seeing an Apple product, you see, it's very...
the whole vibe.
Yeah, it's very, like it's a genius thing lah, where Steve Jobs can actually put something so, in a sense...
Not tangible.
Yes, into a product. Yeah, so to me that's the interesting thing. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so just now you mentioned about like 50 interns. That's a huge number. Like, I'm just very curious. How do you do the interview, or how do you like accurately sort of judge or like see who is relevant or useful to your company and who will be a good fit? Yeah.
Yeah, so actually to even like get 50 interns on board wasn't an easy hiring process, because even like for us, right, when we post like a job listing on LinkedIn, like I think combined across all the departments we have like around 400 applicants. And then from 400 applicants we realized like, oh, actually there's really a lot of people who are really qualified for the job. But then during the interview itself, like actually I think you can tell more or less who will be a good fit for your company based on the vibes you get from them, because some people might look really great on resume, but then when they go into your interview, you can have that kind of sensing where they are just applying for any random like internship that they can get, and they're just happy with any internship as long as they get
They don't
one.
have a strong why.
Yeah, they don't have a strong why. But then the interns I really love is when they actually share with me about like their various like experiences, whether it's in the non-profit space, like the startups they have like built, or like the past internships that they had that's really quite related to what Savour is doing, or even if they don't have like any relevant past experiences.
Yeah, it shows their determination, it shows their character.
But it's their research and also like how they present themselves in the interview that really like got me hiring them, even though they didn't have any like past experiences. And usually I don't really subscribe to the notion that just because you have a scholarship or if you are first class honours means you are a great intern. But sometimes I hire like polytechnic interns or like people who don't really seem very stellar like on paper, but they turn out to really be quite hungry to learn and really enthusiastic to do a
like
good
lying
job.
with their potential. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. How do you spot these people though? Like you say it's about vibes and all that, but is there a more quantifiable way where you can spot such interns?
Yeah, so usually, right, one of the interview questions I ask in my interviews is like, why do you want to like work at Savour? So like some of them might say, oh, I'm just looking for like an internship for
Okay.
summer.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know for sure like they didn't research about your company or they just hear, yeah. But those they are really quite passionate. They'll go into how they have looked through like Savour's website, social media pages, and how it aligns to.
You can recite the mission, vision.
They did. Some of them did. Yeah.
Culture.
So I was really quite pleasantly surprised that there are people that really are quite passionate about like what we do, and because like the interview translated to also their actual work, right? It actually makes a really big difference in motivating them, setting the culture in the company, and also like the way they speak to like stakeholders outside.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, because especially for my interns, they get to interact with a lot of external stakeholders quite often. So
So must
everyone,
make sure that they are.
yeah,
correct.
everyone is a brand representative of Savour.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think the hunger really translates to a lot of things, really. Because like if they're hungry for something, they are a bit more proactive, right? You don't really need to teach
Push
them.
them,
Yeah, I think it's the same for even for like
Attitude
yeah,
and
like
hunger.
corporate hiring. I think it's the same thing that we are looking out for, right? For people who are like passionate about, they really know what you're doing and then they are open to it. They're going to tell people confidently that, you know, I believe in this, that's why I'm doing this. It kind of like translates to every action that they do for on behalf of the company after they enter. So yeah.
Yeah. Just now you spoke about marketing, right? Like Apple being the marketing genius. Like I see that Savour has a lot of creative like ways that you guys are marketing. Like recently, you guys had like first anniversary, like with influencers, right? So may I know like is there any other like things that you guys are creating that is like maybe like not the conventional way, but you really help develop?
Company secret is a topic.
It's not secret. All LinkedIn. It's all LinkedIn.
Okay, all LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Okay. Share the non-secret ones.
Six months later, after the camera stopped loading.
Oh no, like, I wouldn't say it's so much about like the exact initiative to do, but it's always having like this mindset of like researching on trends, seeing like what customers are talking about, and also seeing like what competitors are doing and see how you can also like do it better potentially. So for us, we're always like researching like on even like current local affairs, like what are people interested in, and from there like we like explore it, and we don't really like go full into it also. We just like do a mini trial to see how our customers will find it, and if it works, then we'll actually go more full on into it.
Oh,
So
I see.
even for like e-commerce live streaming, so we also like saw recently there was a huge like growing trend in e-commerce live streaming, both like in Singapore, in the e-commerce platforms that we see, and also just in general from customers. So we decided to try it out for fun. Like the Savour team, like we just decided to pull together like us hosts and then just get our merchants products and talk about it. Yeah, then from there we realized, okay, yeah, so it's actually quite good. So we decided to work with influencers to like try it out also.
Wow.
Then also another thing we started exploring is like group buy. So it was also a really chance encounter because like one of our Savour like interns was doing group buy, then like was suggesting the idea to us. So we decided to try it out. So we went small trials and all. Then once we realized it worked, we decided to like go more full on into it. So I would say like when it comes to marketing, right, there's guerrilla marketing that can get you viral, and then there's also like public relations side, which I think is also quite important. So especially during the COVID-19 pandemic time, I would say that it was a pretty good opportunity to do like marketing that wouldn't have worked in pre-pandemic times. So one of the things that Savour did, right, was that we created like this COVID-19 like info site where we compiled like all the F&B resources and support for F&B businesses that are affected, and also like the general public. So from there we actually got like a huge like traffic to our website from there.
Wow, actually this is super useful and that's like very smart. Yeah.
Was that your idea?
Yeah, so the thing about like all our marketing initiatives is like just like ideas suggested by different Savour team members, and we're like, oh, sounds cool, let's try it out. Yeah. So it's not really all the ideas come from me only, but like it's really creating a company culture where everyone is like free to voice out like any inspirations, ideas that they have, and being open enough to like just try it out. Yeah.
Do you have a bad internship experience, which is why you start to create more open culture, and you know, is that the reason why? Because you had a bad past internship experience?
I wouldn't say it's really like a bad internship experience. It's just maybe like a internship experience that is great like for resume, but it's not really something that I want to do like for the long foreseeable future. So like in the past, I have been doing quite a few like corporate internships. So while these corporate internships are really great and all like on the resume, but I just felt like what you mentioned, like you're just only doing like one thing, and then most of the time it's mostly administrative, like psych work to to put it that way. So you don't really get to learn much compared to like working in a startup. So the first time I worked in a startup was actually in Myanmar, and that was when I realized actually you get so much more autonomy, and you'll be treated more like a full-timer, so you can actually get to explore interests like outside of your job scope, in fact. Like I wanted to explore business development even though I was doing a marketing role there, and they were happy to let me do that. So from there I actually combined like the best parts of corporate culture and the best parts of startup culture into like what my startup is currently like. So I think a lot of startups, they might not have like so much organization and direction, but in my case I try to actually give structure and organization to my interns, while also still having like the flexibility and like creativity for interns to propose things that they should execute in.
Oh, that's like the best of both worlds. Because like for corporate, like I mean like what you mentioned, right, it is very difficult because like you don't get to see the whole big picture. Maybe you're just put into the box, you just do work related to that particular job scope. But for startup, it's really quite like free for all. There's no hierarchy, there's no structure. But integrating a structure into it would be quite difficult because a startup, like how to say, like it really thrives on like creativity and like innovation, right? So how do you like think about a structure to create? How do you integrate that in your system?
Yeah, so I'll say that my internship program is like quite structured in that sense. Like every week I already have planned for them things to do, and also like have certain KPIs for them to hit. But also like apart from just like their assigned responsibilities, I always make sure they have opportunities to like learn new things like outside of their work, and also like come up with like a presentation to share about the ideas like for the company, and actually be able to execute them. So a lot of the interns, they also will like have a mentorship session with them at the start to ask them like, okay, so what are the goals you want to achieve, and also like what sort of areas do you want to learn in my company. Then from there I'll plan a job scope that aligns with their interests and goals.
Wow. That's good. Actually, it's the first time I hear something like that.
It's a good internship, right? Find me out.
Oh, no wonder there's like 400.
Giving me ideas, right? Next time my internship also will be like that.
Yeah, because I think it's a two-way kind of thing. It's like you want the intern to be happy doing what they're doing, and you also want...
It's a win-win situation. It really is a win-win situation. Because I have a friend, she recently started her internship, and it's been her first week only. So she was telling me, you know what she was doing? I can't say the company's name, but she was sitting at the table, and her table is facing like a blank wall. So the whole time she was not given any work. So it's not like she never asked for work, right? She will ask it. Boss said don't have, no work. Someone she got two supervisor. She don't use phone. So she just sit down there. Then she said time passed very slow. So sometimes she will just drop us a message. Wow, then more read. They just sit down there and say no SOP to read, no nothing.
But there's no work at all.
No work at all. The bosses are busy, the supervisors are busy, but there's no work.
Maybe can ask her to sign up for
Yeah, no, like you would rather even do psych than do nothing at all. I think that was...
Exactly. Imagine your 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. is staring at the wall. Staring at the wall. Sometimes she'll go toilet to use phone.
Sad.
I mean, yeah, sad, right?
That's
So,
sad.
yeah. So this is something very new. And I think, honestly, it's something that only a startup can achieve. Yeah, because, I mean, in a corporate environment, everything is about SOP, everything is about, getting approval. Right? But then, when it comes to a startup, that's the culture I like. Yeah. So, interesting.
Yeah, I think also one thing like I do in my startup culture is to actually have more of like flexible like work hours and commitments. So like for my incoming part-time interns, like they don't really work like Monday to Friday or like 9 to 5, that kind of thing. It's more like when you get your work done, you can do whatever else you want. Yeah, so I realized that actually works very well for like...
How do you break that culture though? Because a lot of people come in thinking that, okay, I can do finish and go, but they will still stay because they're scared. Like we have Singaporeans have this sort of like culture, where I don't want to go back early. Yeah, any of them like that or?
No, so my startup has been like working remotely, like work from home for the past 2 years. Yeah, but nonetheless, like from my past experiences, everyone always like do their work like on time and pretty well. So it's really like trusting them with the work that they're being given. And yeah, we also set like some consistent meetings like every week for them to like attend. So everything else outside is like yeah, they're given
Based on
the trust to do so.
I also think the work culture has been changing since I think the previous generation and COVID, I think. Also because now we have younger generation becoming their own like founders. So these kind of things that they apply. Because after all, I always believe in like, you know, like work-life balance. It's not like 9 to 5 and then like 6 then you do whatever you
It's
want.
not quantifiable by time.
Correct.
Yeah,
It's
it's
about
actually
the
the
amount of,
results.
the results and the work that you put
deliverables.
in. So I'm also personally a fan of like work from home or basically at flexible work hours because after all, by giving, like, you know, like sometimes when you have assignments, right, you have 2 hours left before the due time, you're a lot more productive. And some people just work that way and then you make them sit down from 9 to 5 just to complete something that they can chong in 2 hours and that doesn't really make sense. Yeah, so I think that model has been shifting a lot and we can see that
Very
more
good point.
people these days, they can actually commit to it if you trust them, which is what like, I think Katrina has been giving her.
I think when you're given the trust also, you wouldn't want to lose that trust. See, especially when someone told you, you know, I'm gonna trust you, you know, it's flexible working hours and all this, you won't want to betray that trust also.
Yeah.
So then you will also put in the effort and the work. But the paradox is when you're being micromanaged, then you also know, hey, this person actually doesn't really trust me. Then the work that you put in may not be 100% as well.
True.
Because anyway, she will correct me what? Anyway, she will tell
Anyway,
me, this is wrong,
anything I
anyway,
do
she needs to
also,
stop
anyway 9 to 5 ma, so might as well
Yeah.
just...
Yeah, that's right. I think that goes back to like sense of ownership, you know. Like giving them the sense of ownership, right? Then that this is something that you want to create, just go and do it. Like it's something that you like, just go and do it, right? So I think that really motivates them like from within, which is a very good culture. So thank you, Katrina, for everything that you have shared. I think you really showed us like the power of hunger, you know. Or
And being shameless.
yeah, and being like thick skin, right?
Thick skin.
Yeah, I mean, call it thick skin, call it bravery, can call it courage, right? After you right? At the end of the day, when you get results, then no one can say anything. Yeah, so the thing is like, I think it's really admirable for someone at your age, you know, to accomplish like that much, you know. Like you have juggling school, and then you have this like huge startup, and like
Started
with, like
one more thing as well.
500 merchants, 200 customers, right? So the thing is like, it's really an honor to have you here, and maybe you can share anything you want.
Yeah, so if you are interested to like learn more about Savour, you can visit us at our website at www.savour.co. And also like on the same website itself, you can sign up for like a free account as a customer or as a merchant. Yeah, and you can also like follow us on Savour's like social media pages. So we are on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Telegram. So you can just simply search like Savour Singapore, and you'll be able to find us on social media. And yeah, thanks so much for like having me like here today. It's really a pleasure like speaking with all of you, and really like appreciate like having like inviting me here today.
Yeah, thank you so much,
Katrina.
Katrina. Thank you.
How we do this?